Welcome to episode 6 of season 6 of Whole Lot of Wolves. I'm Joshua Buckley with co-host Paul LePage.
Hello.
In New York City, it's our great producer, Alex Patakis.
Good evening.
Danny is over on the socials in Baltimore.
Hello.
And joining us from Denver, Colorado, he's a comedian. Hopefully he's way more funny than what Wolves were throwing out there, which was a joke on Saturday. It is Mr. Greg Ellis. How's it going, Greg?
It's good. How you doing, everyone? Thanks for having me back on.
Good. Well, guys, here we go. 1-0. It was a defeat that the scoreline didn't really tell the whole story. Really wasn't that close as 1-0. It started out really interesting because of the fact that the lineup was very different. We've kept hearing that, Vitor's only got his system, blah, blah, blah. Well, he debuted a 3-5-2, and two of the new signings, Tolu Okadari and Krejci, both made it into the lineup. Paul, what were your thoughts when that lineup card came out?
I was trying to figure out whether it could be the arrival of that fantastic 6-3-1 or whatever it was with so much defensive play within there. I had a few nerves that Krejci could be the second coming of Dendoncker. I think he proved otherwise, thankfully. But it was a strange one, and I was pleased to see the two up front. I really hope that's the way he starts to think about it. Mostly down to the fact that I really liked seeing Tolu up there as that focal point. And I just thought if there's an opportunity to get Wang out of his slump, it could be playing off the shoulder of a bigger target man, in around the box a little bit more, really playing more to his strengths. So as the side stacked up, it had a lot of positives for me, but it didn't really kick on and deliver.
Greg, how about Arokadari having to start? He barely even knows everybody's name because immediately after he signed, he goes on international break, comes back for 2 days, and boom, you're starting up front in a brand new league. I mean, what's it like to be him?
I mean, I thought he did well. He tied over the game, and that's the international travel in his legs. But to come in and have that on your back, I guess it's just symptomatic of where footballers are today, that they can kind of cope with that sort of stress, but and spotlight. But I thought he did well. It was a bit of a weird hand that Vitor played, and I think a lot of that was people coming back from international travel, not wanting to put players on and then force them to play 90 minutes. So he held a few players back in reserve. And I think we've seen that a few times this season, where some of the spark that comes off the bench, you're asking for that earlier. But I think he did well. And actually, the way they started the game was particularly sharp. If you remember the Rodrigo Gomez chance right 12 seconds in or whatever it was.
Greg, you're jumping ahead of things. All right, we're not
all right.
there yet.
No. I mean, that was all him though, right there. Like that was him with the flick down straight off the bat. So you could see the impact that he was making, and you see what Vitor was doing.
Yeah. So before we get to those early chances, Danny, what do you think of Krejci starting at center mid instead of at center back, which is kind of what we had been told that was where he was going to have his spot?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that he can hang there because I think there were a lot of people who, including myself, who had some doubts. I still have some doubts, I'll be honest, about his long-term viability there. I think, the main point to bring him in was an upgrade to a center back, perhaps Todi. But it's good to know that at the very least our midfield depth isn't zero. I mean, I guess it really depends which of the wide tens we're considering also midfielders. But it's good to see that he can hang there. And I thought that he did well enough, given that, he was one of the ones with a fairly short amount of time on the training pitch. So maybe this lineup sort of answered several questions, but then posed several more about what we'll see this coming weekend.
Well, as Greg mentioned, the game started off pretty hot, Alex. Rodrigo Gomez had a chance within the first 10 seconds. I mean, that was pretty exciting, and it wasn't just that one. There were several other chances to get on the score sheet early.
Yeah, there were. It was unfortunate that Rodrigo didn't really finish and kind of spoiled some of those chances. They were pretty decent chances, you know. I think that I have some degree of empathy for Rodrigo Gomez being asked to do a lot of different things at a lot of different points. He hasn't necessarily like found a place to settle down within the squad, so I feel like I don't want to necessarily hold it against him right away. You know, going on the road to St. Mary's or St. James's is not an easy thing to do for a young player who's probably leaking confidence at this point because he just hasn't had any consistent time in the lineup. 1 second he's playing right wing back, 1 second he's playing left wing back, 1 second we're changing shape, and we're almost entirely reliant on him and Hugo Bueno to like bring us up the pitch on the wings. I just think for a player of that age and that little experience in this league, it's a lot. So he was wasteful, but I can't really like come down on him and pin this one on him necessarily. The headed chance was actually a halfway decent chance too. A very strangely similar chance that Phil Foden finished for Manchester City in the Manchester Derby. I just went back and watched the highlights, and I was like, I feel like I've seen this exact passage of play before, and it was, except Foden like headed it through beautifully, which, you know, there's a bit of a quality difference between those two players there. But you just knew when those chances weren't going in that it was going to come back and haunt us. Like, I know we all must have been thinking that.
I think that the element there is how many times are we on the receiving end of those chances that get put away, and then with a blink of an eye, you've lost a goal within the first minute. If we were playing it, if it was anyone else against us, Wang's effort would have gone in, and all of a sudden you'd be thinking, you know, we're on the hiding to nothing now. It's going to be 4 or 5 at home, and we're going to get trounced, and we rarely ever seem to be that team that like takes the initiative, scores first, quickly adds a second, goes on to third 4-0 thumping. It always seems against us and never for us. I will say with his first chance, we do skip the fact a little that it was a great save. I think that the Premier League did do a save of the month for August, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if that wins save of the month for September, because it was a great effort and a really good stop from Nick Pope.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sam Johnston. I thought he had a couple of pretty good stops as well. The wingbacks, the inverted wingbacks, Greg. What'd you think of Hugo Bueno on the right side?
I mean, I'll put it back to you. Do you think we're going to see a lot of that this season, or is that just a matter of circumstance? I mean,
I think that
I still don't know what the team is.
International break.
Yeah, I still don't know what the team is, but
near does nobody does.
I saw a tweet today and someone was questioning like the depth that we brought in certain positions. And, you know, if we do start getting performances out of other players that sometimes have been in and around the fringes of the team, as he has, and we actually do see the benefit of the loan system when they come back and actually can make it into the team, I don't think it's too bad. But again, I thought, I wasn't sure whether that's what we're going to stick with for the season or what, whether it was just a matter of circumstance, to be honest.
So another change that we saw in defense, Danny, was Agbadou moving a spot over to the right, and we had Mosquera sitting there in the middle. He kind of got a little lucky. Did you think that was a red card on Mosquera?
Yeah, I go back and forth on it. I think the one thing that we can all agree on, I've heard several people echo this, is that if it gets given on the field, VAR's not overturning that red card. I think he's a bit lucky. I mean, in my opinion, this is how VAR should work in the first place, which is that the ref views it in real time, and then you don't try to re-referee it. In circumstances like this where the thing happens very quickly, and it's two players trying to change direction towards the ball, and he does a bit of a swim move and maybe catches him on the cheek or something. It's very like minor, but it's something that when they slowed it down looked very bad. So I think if the whole game is played in slow motion, that's open and shut red card. In full time, I think reasonable people can disagree with it. And so we go with the call in the field. It was a close one, and I think we're going to have many close calls with Yerson Mosquera.
I think at that stage of the game, though, he's typically letting a lot of things go. So there was certainly times where plays went down and it was play on, and you could see him make an active decision on those plays to let the game flow. So if you shape it in that context, it was that coming together. But I can see it in a different light. Certainly slowed down.
I think my favorite part was Mosquera shit talking him as soon as he was on the ground too. I felt like with that, it was a clear foul, and if that would have happened in the box, I think VAR would have given a penalty there. I still don't think it was necessarily a red card though, because I can't say for sure he was 100% past Mosquera. I think we'll be seeing more of Mosquera, because Agbadou has turned into Agbadoodoo, Alex. I mean, it seems like we're talking about this every week, and it's not getting better.
Yeah, I think we said the same exact thing before this match, even, and then obviously, he was the culprit of the goal with Waltemata beating him to that header. I think we said, like, if Andre was going to be dropped for a match due to performances, effort, attitude, whatever it might be, then what is that standard, and how is Agbadou not fallen beneath that? Given what he's been doing out there, I'm very concerned. I think preseason happened, and many of us were like, "Well, it's preseason; he needs time to work into form." I know it's only been 4 league games, but it does beg the question, like, which version of Agbadou, the one we saw from January on last year that was pivotal in Wolves turning things around, or the current form of Agbadou is like closer to the true player. Like, I don't think he's actually as bad as he has been playing these past 4 games, but I think because he's continued to play that poorly, I feel like I want to confidently say, like, last year was like a bit of an anomaly as well. like new manager bounce, new club bounce, maybe for the player. I don't know, because it's hard to imagine him getting back to that form now. And then you go down this cycle where it's like we're continuing to reshuffle our back 3, and Totti on the left side is the only one who I guess is like got a stable position now, even though we thought Krejci might be coming in to replace him, even though he's the captain. Like, I don't know what to make of it, quite frankly. And look, I understand that he's old, but like I wouldn't even be opposed to giving Doc a game over him again if he's healthy and fit, because at the very least, I feel like there's an element of trust there that's developed over time that right now I'm just like quickly losing with Agbadou.
I'll go ahead and play devil's advocate here and say that I thought that he was not as bad as the first 3 games in this game. Now, I know the bar for that is very low. It was a minor improvement, and like Alex said, he was at least half at fault for the goal that lost the game. But in terms of whether his place in the lineup is in jeopardy, I totally sympathize with fans who are fearful of keeping him in because of the liability that he's been. I feel some of those things too, but I just think, if you want to talk about trust, we might have trust with Doc, but I think Vitor Pereira is going to have trust with the guy that he brought in January. And in addition, I think that dropping Agbadou, who we know what his level can be, for, let's say, Doc or maybe Santi, and then if one of them gets spun, which they both have a propensity to do sometimes, and Leeds score, I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on Vitor for making that decision. I mean, he's in a bad situation because Agbadou's put him in that situation. But I think the sort of path of least resistance is to leave the player in. And if he messes up against Leeds, then it feels like it's more on Agbadou for continuing to be at a lower level. I don't know. I think that I wouldn't like go into the Leeds game expecting him to have lost his place. If he has another frustrating game, then I would be shocked if he didn't get dropped the next game. But this is just such a big game.
I'm 50-50 on the goal as well, because they had far too much time to put a inch perfect cross on the top of their centre forward's head, that even as that defender, having that type of ball against that type of opponent is extremely difficult to defend against. Yeah, he might have made it more tricky for him to get the header away, but all of the impetus on that move was down to Waltmarch sticking his head on it, thanks to the cross. But for me, it's like the little things that are totally gone, like the simple passes are going astray. And if you remember when he originally came in, he started on the left on his weaker foot, and even then he looked to dominate. He could come back in on his right, and his passing was solid, and he was even pushing balls down that left-hand side on his weaker foot without as much difficulty that he's facing right now. So that just shows the distinct level that it's gone from, and to that he looked quality playing on the wrong side when he first arrived, to struggling centrally, and now even struggling on the right, and not being the main guy that we're expecting to be that star defender.
He did play one really nice through ball. I forget who it was to. It might have been to Hugo. And that was one of those things that, like, that's the only like passage of play I feel like I could recognize from Wolves, because Doc would do that a lot, right? Like at that right center back position, he would come forward and try to play some through balls into our wing backs or even some of our forwards. So, maybe he is good at that, because like Paul said, when he was our left center back, he was doing some of that. He was also pinging balls across the field, like switching play over to Nelson quite a bit back then. But in the center of our defense, like, I'm all for giving Mosquera continued run there, even if it means chaos and cards.
I still go back to Drew from Pittsburgh's no stupid question a few weeks ago. That was, if your life depended on it, who would you want to try and kick the ball downfield in play, Agbadou or Jose Sa? I think we'd die. just accept your fate. Accept your fate. Paul, if everyone is healthy and fit, who do you think is the best three to start on that back line?
It's still a tricky question, because you don't know how Krejci fits into it yet.
And can you start as manager in 3 weeks?
Yeah. So,
watch it.
Like, as it stands, it's for me. I've probably got to think that if Krejci's going to come in, he's going to play as that centre of the back three, and they're going to look to him to build out of the back a little bit more, because they can't really trust Tolu to do it on the left. And out the two of Mosquera and Agbadou, probably Agbadou should have more of those skills in his locker, like those through balls. So I think that eventually could be the three.
Okay. I was stunned at how tall that the new Newcastle number 9 was, Greg. That dude was a freaking hoss.
Yeah. Was he like 6'6"?
6'6".
Yeah.
Paul,
I mean,
looking at the other 6'6" people on the call today on the podcast.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I mean, I think that goes back to what Paul was saying, where he's still kind of 50-50 on if that was on Agbadou, because I mean, that guy's he's a big guy.
Yeah. I mean, but Tolu's 6'6".
I think he had a few inches on Tolu as well when it was getting scrappy in the box.
Right.
So
yeah, it's interesting how the Premier League, just in general, is moving towards like a height-based model for some teams, and even ours. If you look at what's going, even with Sasha leaving on loan.
Yeah. So, Tolu, what did you think of his debut, Greg? I think the only thing I was disappointed about was that he doesn't seem as fast as you would like. But physically, he looked pretty nice.
I don't know. Is that the being just deceptively tall? Like you cover a lot of ground with fewer like steps. But yeah, he carries. He's strong. I think he tired. It would be interesting. You mentioned earlier, of all things being even and all players being fit, what would be the back three? Whether he's fully fit and rested after that travel. And I think this came up with Larson being again. Do you play them interchangeably during a match? So Larson's 45 minutes and then him, or do you play them at the same time during the match at some point? How does that change the way that they cover the ground at the top? I don't know. I was interested to see the physicality of him, and like we mentioned right at the beginning, he had that knockdown. I can see us as a team going for the long ball a few times, so I don't know whether his pace will be so much of an issue.
So Vitor explained after the game, look, he only had 6 people during the international break. He had 2 new guys that were trying to get bedded in right away. That, I mean, like I said, Arokadare probably doesn't even know everybody's name right now. And yet, after the match, I saw a lot of Vitor out, which I just think is absurd, Danny. I mean, we sit there and say everybody's admitting that the recruitment team did horrible and then get mad the first game he has with this new team, and he doesn't even have everybody. No JSL. You don't know what you have, and wanting him out is absurd in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I understand where it's coming from. I mean, we're all getting a bit twitchy, and I think the last, I don't know, 2 years, maybe even more than that, have gotten us very kind of like gun shy when it comes to keeping a manager longer than you ought to, especially last year. I think people are looking at the international breaks coming up and saying, well, this is a really good time to get rid of a manager and bring someone in. And then there's a bit of also the romance of Nuno having recently been sacked, and maybe he comes in or something, which I won't get into, but he's not coming back, at least not now. But I do think that, again, sort of just like speaking about what the club are thinking right now, I mean, I won't try to get inside the mind of Jeff Shee, but I will say that, like, he basically handed the keys.
Atoms and ions,
yeah,
protons.
Yeah, he basically handed the keys of the club to Vitor, and he sort of made that clear in the interview he did with the club, where he said, about the role that Vitor has and Teti and whatnot, and shifted some of the responsibility. And I think on the one hand, cynically, he might be doing that to, distance himself from any fallout, if things go poorly. But at the same time, he can't then pull the plug, instantly. And I mean, this would be instantly, like, if, no, I don't think anybody really expected him to get sacked after this Newcastle game, but this is literally his first game with all of the summer signings. And I think that kind of thing is going to be taken into account for them. And I think that something we've talked about in our group chat is just who else is out there
exactly
that would find Wolves to be an interesting project to get involved in, especially at this point, because it's, I don't know, again, this all becomes so cynical, but it's like one thing if you're coming in November and be like, this team is pretty much down and they'll give me a bunch of money in January, and if I fail, then no problem. Whereas if Jeff Shee pulls the plug in the next couple weeks, really hard to find someone who's going to say, yeah, I'll put my name on that project right now, which is like looking bad, but I'm still going to get the blame if they go down. So unfortunately, I think we're just going to have to wait it out. I still have a lot of hope that he'll be able to turn it around. He's already showing signs that he's looking for different solutions to use a Nuno line.
Here is my big thing, and I was asking this of the people that were like, Vitor's got to go. Who is available that will be an upgrade? And nobody has given me a reasonable name yet. The name thrown out was Graham Potter. Get out of here.
Jose Mourinho has also been thrown out in a few quarters because he said he wanted a team towards the bottom of the Premier League.
But I
as
mean,
a project.
is
But yeah,
he an
that would be a fun.
upgrade?
Well, it'd be a fun situation between him and the chairman.
I
Does it
always
get
dream of
inside?
Mourinho coming back just for the box office quality, but
Yeah.
there's no
No.
way in hell he's
No.
working with Jeff Shee, personality wise, obviously, but also he famously likes to spend money, and that one's not happening.
Just give it 2 weeks
And
and call Amarim. Just that's all you got to do,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
He's got the
And
formation down already.
I guarantee if we look through people's Twitter history, all these people they're like, Nuno needs to come back. Yeah. I guarantee you they were all Nuno out during the end of that season. Guarantee. So don't tempt me. I will start getting receipts. Y'all better go looking through stuff. The receipts are coming. Vitor in. Me, Mr. David Geckle from the Leeds United Baltimore fan group. How's it going, David?
Good. How are you guys? Good to be
Good.
back.
We have a
after few
game.
years off.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a match with you on Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, and it also happens to be for Premier League mornings in Kansas City. So what's the return to the EPL been like for Leeds?
Well, it was about as good as it could have been until the 90+4 on Saturday. But 4 points from 4 matches is probably about what I would have hoped for. I think first match back at home versus Everton, first match in the Prem, people still betting in on Everton. I hoped that would have been 3 points, and we got a bit fortunate with the handball. Arsenal went completely tits up, but that's at Arsenal is probably one of your 3 hardest matches of the season, and you get it out of the way early. And then they kept it even against good, solid opposition in Newcastle and Fulham. So the performances, at least defensively, have been something that looks like they're not going to get blown out 5-0 very often unless they play Arsenal again.
Until they play Wolves.
If we give up 5 goals to Wolves, I would be shocked. I'm not going to say like it's a guaranteed win for Leeds or anything, but 5 goals. Although Wolves and Leeds have had crazy matches in the Prem.
What's overall expectations, like David, both from a ownership perspective and the fans when it comes to this return to the Prem?
I think a lot of fans are pretty confident we can stay up, but I think everyone's mostly about thinking 17th, and we'll all snap your arm off for that right now. The ownership, they made some smart signings, and then at the end of the window, they kind of either ran out of money or anyone they were trying to get said no, or Chelsea hijacked a deal for a player they didn't need. But there's plans in place to expand Ellen Road to about 50,000. So if they want that to happen, they need to stay in the Prem. So I think expectations are high that we can stay. And then if we stay up this year, that we can not go back down.
So last time we saw you guys, there were a couple recognizable names, one of my favorites, Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams. They're not here anymore. So who are the names that we need to be paying attention to for Leeds?
Well, if you're looking for Americans, we still have Brendan Aronson. I don't know if that's one you need to familiarize yourself with. I think people will kind of give him a lot of stick, but he does all the little things. But in possession, he's a second slow with his final pass or whether to take a shot. But he's great at pressing from the front. He'll run his socks off, but I think hopefully he doesn't become an every week starter. He started against Fulham for the first time this year. So the team's pretty different since the last time they were in the Prem. Pascal Strauch is probably the only starter. Him and Aronson are the only 2 starters from when the team was in the Premier League last. We had Dan James, but he was on loan at Fulham, and he was only on for 5 minutes. And then it looks like he hurt his shoulder against Fulham, so I don't know if we'll see him. But also, so it looks like Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got the number 9 shirt. He hasn't scored yet. and he's still kind of working his way into fitness. But he kind of, I think, offers something that you need in the Prem, which is he'll win those balls in the air, he'll hold up play, he'll draw fouls. But he's got to score some goals too, or else we're going to be in trouble.
So how do you anticipate the team lining up?
So they've been going 4-3-3, which is probably part of their offensive failings and also why they've been pretty strong defensively. So the three in the middle are all kind of holding midfielders. I have Ethan Ampadu, the captain, who's the deepest of the three. Then you have Anton Stack, and then either Sean Longstaff or Ayo Tanaka as eights, and they can play some progressive passes, but they're not getting in the box. So we'll get it on the wings, and it'll be like 2-on-5. So there's really, but we got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so I think they got to do some more hoofing it into the box rather than trying to play their way into the box. And then your back four is on the left. You got Goodmanson, who is our best goal scorer, unfortunately, in the wrong net. And then you have Rodon and Strauch at center back and Jaden Bogle at right back. But if you're looking for FPL, Joe Rodon's nailed on 4-0 starter, and we're getting clean sheets and those DEFCON points for any of you FPL players.
David, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Good luck. And then we'll do this again next year in the championship.
Ouch.
Don't put that evil on me.
I put it on both of us.
Oh, that's brutal. Oh man. Who do you think of the three promoted would stay up then?
I want to say Leeds, but I think Sunderland, they did a lot of good business in the transfer window. They do have like the easiest beginning of the season, and they've capitalized. They've got 7 points on the board already. I think Burnley's a lock for 20th. So it'll come down to Sunderland, Leeds, Wolves, Brentford, West Ham for the two who's going to go down, I think.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, David.
Sorry I'm dodging the match with Danny. I have to go to a wedding.
Yeah, we'll make plans for the reverse
A
picture.
fall wedding? God, you people in the north kill me, man.
I'm not getting married. Somebody else.
Yeah. Fall weddings down in the south. Big no-nos. Big no-nos. All right. So we heard from Geckle. I actually kind of feel a little bit better about Wolves' chances after that. What do you think, Paul?
It really depends how he lines that team up. I'm really hoping that it's that more forward, two men up top style of the 5-3-2, but there's got to be some creativity in and around it. I'd really be looking to see a genuine number 10 in that team now, because I don't think you can't run out that midfield of Craigie, Andre, and João Gomez at home. I could see it away against a side like Newcastle. It has its place, I think, and we could well see it again, depending on the opponent, but not at home.
Greg, do you think we see JSL this week?
I think we were talking earlier about where do you play him, and in players who've got injuries on too early. Maybe second half you might see him come off the bench. They'll try to figure out maybe a straight swap for Tolu. I think he's so pivotal, particularly at this point we are in the season now, where we need. You saw against West Ham, with him we won, without him we were behind. If we can keep him fit and use him strategically, that might give us enough time on the training fields to find a final formation and a strategy that works. We talked about solutions and Vitor's challenges that he's got. That might be what we see this weekend. And I could imagine him coming off the bench just in case something happened. We got a red card from Mosquera or whatever, and then we had to shuffle the pack and he has to stay on for too long.
He's got jokes, folks. He's got jokes. Danny, I think what a lot of people forget is that during that 6-game win streak, JSL was Wolves' best player. And that's another reason why I feel like it's unfair to be judging Vitor without the team, because he's really almost built this lineup to have somebody of JSL's quality right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And besides, I mean, the most obvious direct comparison, JSL who came in last year and honestly did okay in a really bad run under Gary O'Neill, despite that bad run. And then, like you said, played very well under Vitor. And so knows what Vitor wants inside and out, you'd imagine, versus his replacement. All of a sudden, it's no one's particular fault that JSL is injured, we believe. And Tolu Rakadare, who came in and literally the next day went out on international duty and then had one of the later second games in that. So probably was only back a day, maybe a day and a half. So like a day for gym work and then a day for out on the field. And so it's just like, I thought Tolu did pretty decent in the Newcastle game. And that was based on 48 hours were at best of coaching and understanding. So, we'd hope that it's going to look a lot better and a lot different with JSL in there. And honestly, a good way to keep them both fresh as Tolu works his way back. Like Greg said, if Tolu can give us the first 45 and then JSL can give us the second 45, then that's good enough for us at this point.
Alex, assuming JSL isn't fit to start, I still see 4 changes coming up in the lineup. I do think Crikey moves back into center back. I think Chachuca comes in at right wing back, and maybe Arias or Fer Lopez in that number 10 role Paul's craving for. What do you think? Of course, Saw coming back as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Saw's going to be one. I guess theoretically we should be able to, with all of our players back and recovered from the international break, we should be able to see a lineup something more akin, or at least a shape something more akin to what we've been doing up until the Newcastle game this season, which is a little bit more offensive. I just don't know who would come in to play that 10 role. I guess logic would say Arias, because I feel like they're really taking it slow with Fer Lopez, but I think there's also a good case to be made that we're pretty desperate right now, and he's arguably been one of our most creative players when in very small glimpses out on the pitch. So personally, I would probably play him. I'm hoping that it's him. I have a greater degree of confidence in him coming into this lineup and actually creating a spark against a team that theoretically should be beatable even for Wolves right now. But I really don't know. I don't know what's in the mind of Vitor, which is crazy because Arias was when we signed Arias, there was a huge degree of expectation that he was going to be the closest thing to a Cunha replacement. And it's right now, I just feel kind of silly. I'm like, we just bought the Club World Cup hype. We watched Jeff Shee watched one preseason tournament, was like, that guy's pretty good, made a couple phone calls, and we're just the team that bought into a really good showing against a couple of teams that, okay, they're good teams and there was a lot of money at stake, but also do you think despite winning the tournament that Chelsea and whoever else he played well against really gave a shit about that? Come on.
See, and that's a key thing there. Remember, teams that were actually in the Club World Cup didn't go after him. I mean, I still have a lot of faith in Arias. I think he's going to be good, but it does say something when the teams that he was going against in that tournament weren't fighting Wolves to sign him.
Yeah, I think even beyond that, it's also to the fact that we don't make an effort to get him on the ball. So if he was the planned Cunha replacement, I don't even know if you can fully blame him. I just never see him. Sorry, Greg, I cut you off. I feel like you were going to.
No, I was just trying to remember whether he was one of these players that had a never-ending season because of The
Yeah.
change from Brazilian to like all the way through, and then the Club World Cup. I wonder how many consecutive games he's played and what time off he's had in between, and whether we're
he's
seeing like the
he's
back
probably
end of that.
tired.
One of you will probably research it quicker than I will, and he's like probably had 7 weeks off.
Danny's already on it. I can see when he's typing.
Yeah, but there is that, and obviously the inertia of coming into a new league. Yeah, that I seem to think that there are him and a couple of other players from the Club World Cup that have played like 60 consecutive games or something.
Oh yeah, he played a lot of games. He played a lot of 90s, starting in March 20th was the first. So that was a World Cup qualifying for his country, and then league started on the 29th of March, and then he's been playing pretty much all the time until he joined us.
And he's not going to get an international break off. Yeah, that's rough, man. Soccer's already, you have to be so physically in shape more than any other sport. Oh, man, that's tough. All right, let's look at the standings here. Alex and Danny, you each got a point predicting that Newcastle win. I hope you're proud of yourselves. Good job.
No, never.
Never. Traitors. Danny's got 4 points. Alex has 3. Paul and myself have 2. We're still in striking distance, Paul. We're not that bad yet. And the guest spot bringing up the rear at 1 point. So, Greg, no pressure. What you got for this match?
5-0 Wolves.
Yay.
5 own goals.
Write it down. Can't change it now.
It's easy to predict a win when you're not going to be on here next week.
I think it'll be high scoring. I think it'll be close. I'm thinking 3-2 to Wolves.
3-2 Wolves.
I'm just going to throw it out there. We've already discussed we've got a Rick at the back, so I might come back in. They're still moving the defense around, but I think if we can get back to that, you remember when we had Traore and Jimenez winger to centre, and you've got Chacho with that pace, and then whoever's in the centre. If we can get a bit of that kind of stuff coming together, there's definitely goals in the team. So yeah,
3-2. Chachula and Arokadari, I feel like, can feed families in Wolverhampton at some point.
Yeah.
All right,
as
Danny?
Danny said, I can suggest that if I'm not on next week.
Danny?
Yeah. I see it as a tight game as well. Talking to Geckle actually made me feel a little bit more confident. He seems a little bit shaky about his forward threat, but I still think they're going to score. So I think Wolves 2, Leeds 1. I don't know who's going to score our goals, but the thing that's in my mind is either Charity FC strikes again and Gudmundsson scores in the correct goal this time, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin pulls his classic, scores a goal against us, and then gets injured within the next 10 minutes.
Alex?
I'm going to go for a slightly less optimistic 1-1, although I think I'll take the point even at this point.
I'd take a point.
Yeah, anything but a loss. Yeah, I'll take a 1-1 draw.
I would like to point out, Alex has not picked Wolves to win yet this season.
I mean, you blame me?
It's just playing the numbers, man.
Yeah, just saying.
I'm trying to win.
Paul?
I'm going for the season starts on Saturday, and we'll be wildly optimistic that it'll be somewhat of a more settled team in their favoured positions. An early goal that we build on, maybe towards the end of the first half, and we see out the second for a 2-0 win.
2-0 win. Clean sheet, too. Pizza for the press. I love it. I am on the point with Danny. I think Calvert-Lewin does score. However, I think Wolves are this is the time to get the offense and then give a big double salute to all the Vitor out people. 2-1 Wolves.
No Stupid Questions is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. Whether you're toasting some Vino de Vitor or winding down after a day of work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of wine country with each sip. Now at esfuerzowines.com, you can use the promo code Vitor, that's VITOR, at checkout to receive a 30% discount off your order. And don't forget to try the special edition one-pack wines to show your passion and support for Wolves with each glass. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their product responsibly and in moderation.
The time of the show where we open it up to you, the listeners, to ask us anything related to Wolverhampton Wanderers. You could do so by emailing the show, hello@wholelotofwolves.com. You can do so by getting us on X at WOWpod on our socials. And of course, for those of you who are watching on the streams here live, you can go ahead and throw your question on into the chat and we can address it. As always, they're brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. EsfuerzoWines.com. Use the promo code Vitor, as you heard there, to get a discount at checkout. So we have many questions to pick from this week, so we're going to try to get to as many as we can. Let's start with Ryan Lester on X, who asks, would you take relegation if it meant winning the Carabao Cup? Paul, start with you.
I was really interested to hear from you guys as well. The bandwagoners rather than me as the legacy fan, because actually I've flipped and I'm a distinct no now. I want Premier League football as much as possible. I just think back to the time of when it happened to Birmingham City and they were just playing these no-mark European teams in the Championship, and it just had for those that remember, like an aura of the Anglo-Italian Cup that we used to play these bad Italian teams in the late 90s that you never heard of. So it had that feeling to it. I think the thing for that progression with like winning that trophy, like winning the League Cup, going into the Europa, or that progression is you're in with a chance of actually winning the next thing as well. If you're a decent team competing mid to the top half of the Prem, you should be going into that tournament and having a pretty good chance of having a deep run. I just think if that happens as a Championship team, it's just a complete waste.
I don't want to be having to find Championship games. No, just keep
They're
me in
much
the Premier
easier to
League.
find these days, Josh. Come on.
They're all on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Paramount Plus has the worst app imaginable.
I don't know. Netflix just redesigned it. Somehow has made it even worse. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to side with Paul. It's funny. I think in the past, I may have flipped too. But I play out in my mind what it would feel like. And obviously trophies are wonderful. I'm sure that day would be wonderful. But the final is in March.
Yeah.
And if you imagine we're on this march to relegation, no pun intended, I suppose, and losing games constantly, there's not only are you going to be winning these games in the EFL Cup, but you're going to have the constant fighting over, should we be prioritizing the league? And then there's the doubt, should we have prioritized the league? And also I kind of these days I really don't trust that going down puts us out of our misery. I mean, I'm still going to be watching. I've already got Paramount Plus, so I'll be watching. And like, I don't know, I think some people think it's like some silver bullet to deal with our ownership problems, and I don't see that. So I'd love to win a trophy, but I don't think I can handle the kind of season we'd have to get there.
Yeah, I'm probably the same. I think domestically, if I was still there, it might be slightly different, but I agree with Paul. It's I don't think you come back from relegation very quickly as well. And that's just looking at the Championship table, like Sheffield United, Hull, Luton, these teams.
It can be very tricky.
We've done it ourselves. We've gone down twice consecutively. It's not an easy route back. And I think, I'm just on top of trying to find the games wherever they are. The impact that would have to the club just from a financial perspective, I think is going to be worse than winning the Carabao Cup and the benefits of that.
Are championship jerseys cheaper?
They're benchmarked, Josh. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what Wrexham's selling them for.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I'm on the same page as well. Would anyone change their answer? I'm guessing not, but would anyone change their answer if Ryan had said FA Cup instead of Carabao? Because it does feel Carabao is like a good throwaway one. We could all be like, come on. But if it's May at Wembley, it's like a tournament that people still kind of care about, don't really
It
make
makes it a
fun
lot
of.
closer.
Yeah.
And we'd be in Europe next year, which would be hilarious for us being in the championship.
But that's what
Work
Paul
with
just
so
said.
many midweek games. Like,
There's already too many games in the championship.
I know.
What do you think, Paul or Greg?
I'm still out even on the FA Cup now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even after we had Matt Sampson on after Crystal Palace won the FA Cup. Did you see the joy in his eyes?
Yeah.
They did get relegated though.
That's true.
Yeah.
They were safely mid-table.
Good
They're not
point.
playing on like some
And he
weird-
yet didn't know that they were going to get screwed out of Europa.
Yeah.
It is closer with the FA Cup, Alex, but yeah, I still don't think. I just think the stability, like Danny said, going down doesn't save everything that's going wrong with the club and who we buy and things like that. I think it's just too much upheaval.
Yeah. Thanks to Ryan of the Wolves Report for the question. Let's move on to a frequent friend and guest of the show, Drew Freakin on X. Biggest drop off, Agbadu from last year till now, Huang since the Asia Cup, Alabama post Saban, Alec Baldwin from Kim Basinger to Hilaria, who clearly hates him. Josh, I
have a better one than all of those, and I feel like the only one who will really appreciate this is Danny. How about The Witcher going from Henry Cavill down to Liam Hemsworth? Did you see the photos, Danny? My God, that looks awful.
Yeah, I don't even care about Witcher, and I'm still grumpy about that. I just like as a nerd for another fantasy franchise or whatever universe. I hate that someone who actually was passionate about the story and about getting things right was basically gotten rid of by hack writers who didn't want to keep listening to him. And I'm sure that there are some parallels there that I could weave in with, current ownership. Might as well just leave it there.
Yeah. If we did it just between the players and we threw out Bama, I don't know. Does anyone have a thought on that?
Oh, it's got to be Agbadu. 100%.
I guess because his high is probably higher than Huang's was, I guess. I don't know.
Also, He-Chan had a decent excuse, which is that he was injured. He'd just been vaguely injured during the Asia Cup, and meanwhile had been run into the ground by Jurgen Klinsmann. So I think he gets a bit of a pass. And I also think, the Huang thing is so interesting to me. I obviously have a soft spot for Huang that maybe other people don't, but I also think that he hasn't played nearly as much as people think. They talk about oh, this guy's really dropped off. Look at how terrible he is. And it's I don't know. He was in the team for a bit when Cunha was variously suspended or injured or stropping over his contract last season. But it wasn't very frequent. And I'm not saying that he's been good during those times, far from it, but it's just kind of odd to put him in the category of someone who has been objectively bad when I just think he hasn't had minutes and certainly not in a position that suits him.
Yeah, I agree. And I even thought in the Newcastle game, there was a couple of moments where I was okay, I could kind of see him maybe playing his way back into form. I'm not going to be holding my breath, but let's get to Brian Donnelly's question from Charlotte Wolves, who asks, away from football, can you explain Nando's and what exactly about Nando's is cheeky? I've only ever heard it as someone saying getting a cheeky Nando's. Greg, why exactly does getting Nando's have to be cheeky?
It doesn't have to be cheeky, but it helps, I guess. Gary Delaney has a very good Nando's joke, which is probably a little bit too blue for this podcast. So research that yourself. But I think, isn't it originally South African. Everyone thinks it's Portuguese or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big Nando's Nandoer when I lived back in the UK. I think it's just the fact that it's an alternative to kebabs, I guess, when you've had something to drink. I think that's. But the footballers do on the like special cards that you can get as a footballer, like they give you like unlimited Nando's. Is that
Oh yeah, like a black card. Yeah. Platinum, yeah.
And I think maybe the way they prepare it doesn't have like, it's not particularly fatty, so that it'll fit with the footballer's diet. So even at Arsenal or somewhere like that under Wenger, you could probably get away with a Nando's.
It's also one of those meals that can sit between two. Like you could have it between lunch and dinner. That's a cheeky Nando's. Yet you've effectively had like an extra meal for the day. But I've got big breaking news, in fact, about Nando's, in that we have one that's just opened in Houston. So
I was just going to ask. So it's funny. Drew asked this question, and like I totally recognize what he's going for, which is like it's such a common phrase amongst some people in the UK, I suppose. But like for me, they largely are around DC in the US. Like I didn't realize that it wasn't like a nationwide thing. And I was like, yeah, it's like rare here, but I guess more common in the UK. Turns out it's rare, like even more rare. It's just that they're actually like, there are like 11 in Maryland and like a bunch in DC. But apparently, yeah, now there's 4 in Texas and even 2 in Georgia.
That's right by your stomping grounds in Sugarland, right, Paul?
No, it's in Montrose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because I see one off at 99. Yeah, there's 2 actually. I love how it's described as spicy Afro-Portuguese food.
I think we could well think of a
Afro-Portuguese.
A live broadcast from one at some point.
Okay.
Or maybe hit them up for a potential sponsor if there's anyone from Nando's corporate listening. I think we'd be a perfect fit to have espresso wines in one hand and a piece of tasty chicken in the other.
It looks pretty good. I'm looking at it right now. Probably could go without the chicken livers, but the man, those sandwiches, the chicken thigh skewers, Paul. I want a cheeky Nando's now myself.
Yeah, getting hungry. That will conclude No Stupid Questions. Thanks again to our friends at Esfuerzo Wines. It's been a while since we could toast to a victory with Vitor, but it's coming, guys. It's coming. So get your Esfuerzo wine on hand so you can do so when it does, in fact, happen. EsfuerzoWines.com, promo code Vitor.
Well, that's it for this match. Greg, how can people get a hold of you?
I'm on Greg Ellis Comedy on the socials, and I got a new thing coming out, which I'll push out this week. Non-alcoholics drink review show thing, catchily titled. So yeah, you can find the links to that on my Greg Ellis Comedy stuff.
Thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing, and our audience. Thanks to you, because this is all done for you, but you would do us a huge favor and help to grow Whole Lot of Wolves by giving us a 5-star review, thumbs up, anything you can on your podcast platform, listener choice. And if you've not caught us yet on YouTube, head over there, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. That will help a whole bunch. Before we finish, I mentioned last week that it was the release of Jake Perry's Knights in Gold Satin, who came on the show during the summer to talk about this book. And listen to this for a fantastic story. So he took the time to send a handwritten signed copy to my dad in Sedgley. So my dad is like in his 80s, and this is like that whole era for him. So it was just such a touching thought. Please go out and buy the book. It's available from Amazon. But seems Jake has done that, I should also pay it forward and say, if any of you here in the United States would like a copy, get in touch through the pod. Let me know. I will buy yours and have it shipped to you. So that would be a thank you. Thank you for Jake for what he did, because it was a lovely touch and just shows you that there's some very nice people in the world. Most of them are Wolves fans. So there you go. And as you're enjoying that barbecue in Kansas City during Premier League mornings live over the weekend, you can lick those lips and proclaim up the mighty Wolves.